Hi everyone, this is Ryan Farley from customerfx. This is the second video in the SalesLogix Mobile Developer Series. In this video we'll look at how to add a custom field to the SalesLogix Mobile product. If you haven't yet watched the previous video that shows you how to set up a development environment, go and watch that now. We'll assume for this content in this video that you already know how and have a development environment already set up. So what we're going to do in this video is on the account detail right here under the more details section, we're going to add a new field right here. So we'll go through all the steps needed to add that one field in, and we can expound on that in future videos, but for now that'll be a good first step. So the first thing we need is the new field in the database. I can, in Application Architect, I need to have that new field on the account entity here. So if I'm using SalesLogix version 8 for this video, and I can right click and just modify the entity and add the field right there, and it'll add the database field along with it. If you're in a previous version, the account entity won't be editable that way. You'll have to add the field separately here in the database manager. Add the field on the account table, and then you can go in and update the properties, or I think it's in previous versions it might be update entity or something like along those lines. And then you'll find it here, check that box to add it. So since I am in version 8, I'm just going to go ahead and modify the entity right here. Click the plus to add a new property, and I'll just call this new field 1. And I'll let it be just a text field and leave it just as it is. So at this point it's saved the field to the database, created that field, and now also adding the property on the account entity. Alright, so now that's done. So at this point, basically what I need to do is I need to get that new field into my SData feed for the account. So to do that, all I need to do is just build the web platform. And then when the build web platform is complete, we just deploy the SData portal. Okay, so the portal's been redeployed. At this point, we can expect that our new field is now part of the SData account feed. That's the first part in getting this done, is just getting it exposed through SData. So that part was pretty simple and easy. Let's take a look at some of our next steps. So what we're going to do is we want to layer our customization on top of the existing account detail screen. We're not going to directly modify that screen. We're going to layer our stuff on top of it. So in our first video we looked at the SalesLogix Mobile Developer Toolkit. We're going to use that again for this step. For those that might have missed it, the Mobile Developer Toolkit you can get by going to customerfx.com, go to Power to Software, and then there's a link for Mobile Developer Toolkit and a link to install it. This is a free and open source utility that anyone can use. So we previously created our development environment using this tool. We're going to use this option here for creating a new product. A product is almost like a layer of customizations on top of the out-of-the-box product. Just the same way that the out-of-the-box product is a layer on top of the Argos SDK. So we're going to click this option here, and we're using a mobile 2.0 environment, and so I'm going to browse to the root of that development environment that we created. There it is there. So I'm doing a mobile 2.0 to this path. This value right here, this is the name that we wanted to call our customization layer. It defaults to the word custom, which you can certainly leave it at that. You could also change this to maybe a department name you're doing these customizations for, maybe a certain section of the mobile product that you're going to customize. You can give this name here, whatever you would like to do that would indicate what this layer of customizations might be for. I'm just going to leave mine the default custom and click the create product. So right now it's creating the base of this customization area. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So here's the root of our mobile development environment, and if I go to products, previously we only had this argos-saleslogix here, and now we have this argos-custom. This is what was created for us by the Mobile Developer Toolkit. So in here we have kind of the startings of a customization layer. And in here, if we look at this application module, this is the module that layers all of our customizations on top of what's already there. So if I open up that in Notepad, I can see there's already one sample customization put in there. This was put in there by the Mobile Developer Toolkit. What this customization does is it looks for a row that has a name of type. In this case, it's on the account detail screen. So looking for a row of type, which would be the type field, and it's going to modify that and replace its label with type X. So instead of it just being the word type, it'll say type X. Now to see that, we have to change our URL just a little bit, because what we're going to do is tell it to load that set of customizations. Right now, this URL is saying load the argos-saleslogix product. One of the things that the Mobile Developer Toolkit did for us is it put in the argos-saleslogix directory this new file called index-dev-custom, custom being the name of our product that we created. So what this does is this has all the code in it to layer the out-of-the-box argos-saleslogix stuff, but also to add our customization on top of that. So if we use that URL, then we'll be able to see that customization loaded. Later, when we add this back into the application architect, it'll all get merged together, so we won't have this different URL to use to see our customizations. It'll all just be part of the product. So, but for now, while we're developing, this way we can keep things separate and kind of bounce back and forth between customized, non-customized, to compare things if we'd like, all based on which URL we choose. So if I want to see what is in that customization there, again, it just has that sample customization that changes the type label. I'm going to load that URL, and then I'm going to log on. Okay, and it's taken us to the same account page we were on before. This time we do see our customization loaded here. So our type label now says type X, so we know that that customization is loading. So again, that's all based on the index-dev-custom.html file that we've loaded here. If I remove this -custom at the end, it's just going to load the dev file for argos-saleslogix, and we won't see the customization anymore. Okay, so let's take a look at what we need to do here. This sample customization kind of gets us a little bit there, but not quite. We don't quite have enough information with that to know what we need to do here. Let's take a look at how the out-of-the-box account detail view looks like. So if we go into the argos-saleslogix folder, and we go into the source folder and then into views, here we'll see a folder for account, and we can open up the detail view. This is the out-of-the-box detail view. So just a few things that we want to take a look at here that will be of interest to us as we add a new field. One is this query select. The query select, basically, this is what fields, it's like a select statement for that view. It's saying which fields from the account SData feed do I want to bring back to this form. It's not bringing back all the account data, because it's trying to minimize what it brings back so that the page loads quickly on a mobile device. And so it's saying that these are the fields I want to include on this screen. So this is like our data right here. And so one of the things we're going to need to do is add our field to this. Now again, we're not going to directly modify this screen. We're going to layer that on top of this. But that's one of the things that we'll do. The other thing is, if we look here, what we'll do is in the more detailed section, we're going to add our new field after lead source. So let's go down and look for lead source somewhere in here. So we have under owner, lead source. Here it is, owner, and then lead source. So we have this right here. It has a name of lead source dot description. So this lead source dot description, if you noticed here, oops, here in that sample customization where it changed to the label of the account type, it was looking for a certain row where the row dot name equals type. What we're going to do is we're going to look for a certain row where the row dot name equals lead source dot description, and then after that we're going to insert our new field. So let's take a look at how to do that. Now, the thing that makes mobile difficult starting out is it's hard to know exactly what you need to type there. You're not getting IntelliSense, you're not getting any kind of help. You kind of have to know what to type. So if we go to GitHub and go to the argos-sdk repository, so we're just going to, on GitHub, we will search for argos-sdk. And here it is here, under the Sage account currently. Okay, so we have Argos SDK, and on this there's a wiki, and in the wiki is where you'll find some information about how to customize the application. It has a page here for creating an application module. We've already done that. The Mobile Developer Toolkit did that step for us. What we're going to focus on here is this page called Customizing an Existing Application. And as we look here, it gives some sample things about register customization. That's what we saw here, register customization. Also, one thing to note is that this page, you know, I mentioned in our first video how to tell if you're using mobile 1.2 or mobile 2.0 is to look for that word dojo. If you see that word, you know you're using mobile 2.0. So all of this information here on this page is for mobile 2.0. However, you can still look at the mobile 1.2 information. If you look at the page history, because it's a wiki, we can go back to a previous version of the page, and if we look for where it says update for Dojo, and we go to the page version before that, then we'll see all of the information as it would exist for mobile 1.2. So you can still see all this information for mobile 1.2, you just have to go back to a previous version of the page. So I'm going to go to that most up-to-date version. Oops, went to the wrong. Hi, Tony. Went to the wrong link there. So now we're back on the mobile 2.0 version of this page. Okay, so if we look at the information for register customization, it says, if we look at it here, we have what type of view we're going to customize or register a customization for, and what's the view that we're going to customize. And then we have where we're adding it. So the options for this first value here, where it says detail, it says we have detail, edit, and list. We're going to be doing the detail. And then as we read down, it'll tell us all of the different values here. So the type property has values of remove, replace, modify, insert. So that's this here, type. In our sample file, it was a type of modify. Now we're going to change all this, so I'm going to leave this in place and just change it. So I'm going to look for a row called lead source.description, and my type is going to be insert. So we have a type of insert, and then the where is going to be after. Again, if we look down here further, we'll find the where, and it has before or after as possible values for it. So what we'll need to do now is tell it some things about this thing we're inserting after the lead source.description field. So we'll put those in the value here. So for the value, we're going to give it let's give it a name. So our name will be our name. Let's name it. I follow the same convention by the rest of the product, and let's keep things named the way they would be named in the SData feed. So what we called our field was, I don't even remember now. I think it was field value 1. So on the account entity, it is called new field 1. There it was. So new field 1, that's our field. So the casing and everything, we're just going to name it that same thing. So we'll call it account new field 1. So that's the name of our field, and we can leave that just as name, and it'll infer the property. And I'm going to also specify the property, though. This is the property in the, actually we don't need the account prefix there. Let's just keep it just the property name. Okay, so we'll keep just new field 1 as the property. The label, we will just add that as new field 1. And I think that's good. We're probably good with that. One thing we're missing, though, is this new field 1 won't yet exist in the SData feed that's being loaded for that screen. So we need to tell it to include that in that query select. So we're going to do something called extend. We're going to extend on the screen that on this account detail screen. We're going to extend this thing right here and add a new element to this array of properties. So what we're going to do is up here we're going to type dojo.extend, and we're going to extend mobile.SalesLogix .views account and detail. So how do we know what that value is that I just typed there? If we look at this thing that we are extending, it's called mobile.SalesLogix.views.account.detail, and it's a detail form. So that's how we know what we're typing there. We can look at that other screen. So that's what we're extending. And then we will close these off just so we don't lose track. We're going to be extending the query select, and here's what we're extending it with. So this is what we're extending, and now we're typing what we're extending it with. What we're going to do is we're going to concatenate two values into that existing array. So to do that, we're going to do mobile.SalesLogix.views, this same thing that we already typed. So it's on this view, we're taking the existing query select property and we're going to concatenate some values into it. So we're taking the prototype of this here, and on that the query select, and then we're going to concatenate some values into that. So now I could just, all we need is new field 1, and I could add comma and add new field 2 and keep adding as many fields here. I don't need to repeat all of this for each and every field I add. I only have the one field I'm adding at this point, so I'm just going to leave it just like that. So what this is doing is it's saying take this existing thing on mobile.SalesLogix.views.detail. Oh, I missed a views.account.detail. So we're taking this existing thing on this view. You'll find query select, and we're concatenating in this new thing into that array. So that will make it so that that's included in the data returned, and now here's the field that we're adding onto the screen. Let's go ahead and test that and see if we've missed anything. So I've saved it. And now back here, I am using my dev-custom HTML, and I'm going to refresh it. Now something didn't load, so we can bring up the console here, and see what our error is. So we've missed something in our application module on page 13. So to bring this up in Chrome, which is what I'm using here, I did Control-Shift-I. I could have also done the menu, tools, and developer tools. And then this console tab here, it'll show us any JavaScript errors that occurred as this page loaded. And so we know what we have one right there on line 13. Let's take a look at what that is. Oh, I did add a semicolon in where it wasn't needed, so I'm going to save that, and let's go and refresh it again. So a little bit further this time, missed something on line 11. It's saying there's no method contact. Okay, I wrote contact instead of concat. So concat is what I meant to type, because what our error is telling us is that there is no method contact. So it's a typo there. So now we didn't get any errors. So this is when the page loads, this is the only time you're going to get errors, because it's not actually loading new pages. It's just kind of modifying and loading things on this page as you click around in the application. So I know that the code passed syntax-wise. So I'm going to log in again. We'll go back to that account detail and hopefully see our new field there on the detail screen. And it is there. There's no data in it yet. Now, one thing to know, we won't see it yet here on the edit screen because we haven't yet customized the edit screen. Those are two different things. So if we wanted to add this into our edit screen, basically we can take all of this and we're going to make a copy of it. And what we're going to do is change all of this so that it's for the account edit screen. Again, I can open up the existing edit screen and we'll look at here that it's called mobile.saleslogix.views.account.edit. So we need to add this new field 1 into the SData feed. So we've changed that there. Change this. So now this should be being returned for the SData feed for the edit screen. And now for this one, let's go back over to this. If we look at the ID of our edit screen, it's called account_edit. So that's what's going to go here. And this is an edit screen. And then let's look for that lead source and see what it's named here. So on the edit screen, it's only named just lead source is the row that we're looking for. So we can take off this .description. And we're going to insert after that. And then we have this new field 1. This all looks great. The only thing we need to add for an edit screen is to tell it what type of edit it is, what type of control to use, for example. If it's a lookup, pick list. And if we look at this existing edit screen, we'll see that all of these have this type. This one's a type of note, type of lookup, type of pick list. Ours is just going to be a type of text. So we just type, and then the value for that is text. So if I refresh this now, and then I'm going to edit this account, and I see the new field 1 down here, and I'll just type in test value and then save it. Now it's loading the account again. We should be able to go down and see test value is there. So that all worked. So that kind of completes the circle. Again, just to review, the steps are to add the field to the database if necessary. Make sure that that field is exposed as a property on the entity. You build and deploy the SData portal. Then, using the Mobile Developer Toolkit, you use the option for creating a new product. As soon as that opens up here, create new product. It'll create this base product for you, and you'll have in there, in the source folder, the application module. So the application module, what we did is for the detail view, we added it to the query select for the detail view, and then we registered a customization to add the new field onto that screen. Then we repeated those same steps for the edit screen. There's a few things that we can do as far as debugging this. If I bring up that developer tools again, we mentioned the console will show errors that occur as the page loads. There's some syntax things you might have, but if you look at the network, you can see all the things that were returned as the page loaded. So if I log back in, so if I look down here, I can see obviously all the images and things like that, but I can also see the S data that was returned for this. And if I'm not getting my data back in and I look through here, I could see that, you know, possibly new field 1 isn't included in the S data being returned to this page. And that kind of helps to troubleshoot. You know, you might have typed something wrong when you added the query select because you're not seeing data on the page, and it might be because it's not getting the data back in the S data feed for this page. So there's a lot of things that you can do by looking in this developer console. I use Chrome and I love the developer console there, although Firebug for Firefox is great as well. So this concludes this video of how to add a custom field to a screen in the mobile product. The next video we're going to look at how to package that up, add it into Application Architect so that it can be bundled and treated just like the rest of how you treat SalesLogix. Hope this was helpful. I'll see you next time. Thanks.